Beloved, welcome back to episode 6 of Building a Cozy Cabin. Today we're going to be installing this super skookum yard hydrant. Yard hydrants are a way that you can have water spigots in any place and they'll never freeze. They're really cool the way they work. And because I have a background in wildland firefighting and we live in the urban interface, I'm very keen to have a high volume option. So we're going to do that today. So I've got some surprises up my sleeve. Let me show you what we got laid out and we'll get to work. The pipe we'll be using is a class 200 poly. I wanted to use copper or a non-plastic. I'm concerned about all of the plastics in our lives, but the mains are already plastic. And I mean, you do what you can. You can't do everything. You make yourself crazy trying to do that. Last week when my Tourette's flared up and I had an outburst, off camera of course, I threw away my much hated utility knife, and people ask me, well, which one do you like? This is the one right here. This is the Orcon. Orcon, I believe, makes knives for the carpet cutters, carpet installers. Boy, those blades are janky. Simple, and the thing I like about it is it's toolless, and it doesn't rattle. And you can store blades in the back, and it's ergonomic. It's excellent. This is the one you want right there, the Orcon. Well, look who's here. The fancy construction workers. How you been?
Good.
You guys are busier than a one-arm paper hanger?
Dude, it's no joke. I'm trying to if I get a job, as soon as I get to a job, I'm like, okay. Calm down.
Yeah, this is not my emergency. That's what you have to tell yourself. Because people will run you ragged.
Oh yeah. So
yeah,
I'm trying to cool down because I have to go battle, going all the way to, I think, south, what is it? Close to Woodburn. But
well, I'm glad to see some respect being put on the blue-collar man's name these days, because it wasn't that way when I was coming up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, people look down their nose at you like if you went into a McDonald's and you had construction clothes on, but now it's like everyone's got their hat in their hand.
Yeah.
I've got to make up this tee, so I thought I'd bring it into the shop so we can use the vise. There are 3 undeniable facts in life. You will die, you will pay taxes, and you will get pipe dope all over everything you own shortly after using it. And we'll tighten everything down with our German pipe wrench. This is why we properly mount our vices, gentlemen. If you're running around saying you're pro-ho and you've got a vise flopping around mounted to the corner of your shabby bench with drywall screws, I'm going to put you in timeout until you get that remedied. That is not acceptable. Ooh, scary. I think that's tight. Beautiful. This is the 1-inch main. Oh man, the clog's full of dirt. Tactical clogs have no business in the trench. The main coming out of the meter is 1 inch. Now, I was planning on feeding that hydrant with 3/4 and then continuing the main on there. But I'm going to change that. I'm going to run the main, the full 1 inch, all the way to the shop so we can have a real high volume, high flow hydrant for filling the fire apparatus. We'll try this one more time. I was asked what shoes I wear, what clogs these are. These are Dansko's. They're Danish, and they're the best clogs. Especially if you're on your feet a lot on concrete. If you're like a server or a nurse, doctor, or warehouse worker. I've got to say, I do not miss the days of gluing pipe fittings, 10 and 20 foot sticks. This is pretty nice. I have to tell you what a blessing my manservant Jariah is. He was released for the day, of course. Fridays, he's not with us on Fridays. But he anticipated everything that I would need. It was all on the back of my quad, and he even put out a garbage can. That's a good way to put in a ground rod.
Yeah.
You just use a, what do you call that thing? It's not a roto hammer, it's just a chipping gun? Could be, either way.
Roto hammer too.
This Class 200 is connected with what is called a compression fitting, meaning that there's a gasket inside on kind of a cone system that the tighter you tighten it, the more pressure it squeezes against the outside of the pipe. Because this is poly, even though it's Class 200, so that's wall thickness and pretty tough, you put a stainless steel collar inside to give it a little bit of rigidity. There it is. That's all the way down on that collar. Okay. We are ready to make our first cut. We're at the junction for the first hydrant. I've never cut this Class 200 before, so I'm going to try. I'll try a rigid cutter. I think that'll probably work. So this will be, we're teeing off for our first, this will be our first lateral tee off the main. We'll cut through the outer sheath. But the wheel might not be long enough. This might be too thick. Yeah, this was a poor choice. You mind if I use your portaband for a cut? Well, that'll be in my Amazon box tonight. Now, I thought I had seen everything, but I've now seen everything. An electrician with a shop vac. Looks like Occidental leather's still going, huh?
Oh yeah.
They were around when I was framing houses when I was a teenager.
Look at the website, they're kind of old school still.
Do they are they still doing all leather, or they have the nylon as well? That's nylon.
Yeah, they have both.
I got
They have all leather, or they have what I guess.
I got the same bags in the old green ones. While those guys are finishing up, I'll show you how a frost-free hydrant works. So what this is that it is the valve is buried deep under the ground. So the water will come into the bottom of this. If you look really closely, there is a weep hole. And what happens is when you open this valve here, it actually has a rod that goes all the way down and opens it down here at the bottom, kept protected way down below the frost layer. When you close this valve, this rod will move and close the valve on the bottom here and stop the flow of water. This weep hole is always open. It's a little 1/8" hole that will drain the standpipe slowly, you know, depending on the gravel and what you have, but over the next few minutes, so that this always remains dry. This can stick out of the ground where you can access it, but it always remains dry and therefore it won't freeze. Here's a closer view of that weep hole. You see that? So when you turn that valve, when that valve is off, below that, that standpipe drips out of that hole. Here you can see how the handle works. So very clever. It's got a casting with a little nub on there, so you can hang like a feed bucket or a 5-gallon bucket. You don't have to hold it while you're filling it, and you can lock it. So if you're in a rural area, you can put a padlock on there as well. This is a very clean and durable connection. These things have a lot of leverage on them, and if you don't secure them properly and install them properly, you can break the hose down deep in the ground, which is not the best time. But I'll show you some things that will help to prevent that from happening. Great job, guys. That looks beautiful. Nice work. Clean. I'm not very dexterous with this style of pipe wrench. I haven't used them very much. So these need to line up. Looks like that's about right there. This is an important step when you're putting your frost free in. Get a piece of concrete, a little footing pad. If you don't have one, just a big flat rock is just as good. Something that won't move, and place it down first. And then put that fitting right on top of this. And it's much less likely to break when you hang weight on it, like the livestock buckets, etc. Look at me with my ghetto homeowner version of that cool portaband. This is a beautifully designed tool. Look at the way the jaws interface with the nut. Once you learn how to use it, it's just delightful. Very nice. What's this? You see, they just can't help themselves. It's in their nature. Gentlemen, let's recap. I'll give you the bird's eye. So what we did today was off the meter, we continued the main. That's a full 1 inch instead of going to 3/4. That 1 inch runs up here and then tees off to our first hydrant. Now I can continue that 1 inch all the way up to the shop. That way we can have a 1 inch hydrant up there that will have a lot of flow and suffer a lot less friction loss. Lateral number 1 off the main is right here. Now we switch to 3/4 to feed this hydrant right here, right by the power station. Now that plug will be the future run all the way up and continuing the main up all the way to the west. Well, gentlemen, that's about it for me today. It is Friday, and to be honest, I don't get too carried away on Friday. I've learned in this last decade or so that it's not the goal to work as much as you can, or as hard as you can, or produce as much as you can. That's always been, that was the standard, that was the goal. The goal is to work as little as you can to get what you need so that you can have time to do what you want to do. That's what the goal is. So maybe years ago I would have felt bad, felt a little bit guilty if someone were to come to my house and it was 12 o'clock on Friday and I was sitting with my feet up and not out working or being productive. That would have bothered me. I probably would have got up off of the couch and made myself look busy, like I was actually doing something, because that's the way I grew up. But I've come to realize that that's not the goal. That's not the goal. The goal is to have as much of your own time to yourself to do with what you want to do. That's the goal. So I could go bury that thing and we could continue on, but we'll save it for, I guess it will be at the next episode, episode 8. May God bless you and your families. Please keep us in your prayers. Happy Sabbath, and we'll see you all on the next video.